Time to talk golf on Prime Sports Network as we get closer to another major in a few weeks, the PGA Championship. We're going to have a early, like we did with the Masters, an early look at the PGA Championship on next week's show. But first, this week, Jared, we have ourselves a good one. After the last 2 weeks of just awful golf, we have now because anything would have been better than the last 2 weeks. Now it really takes off. The Wells Fargo, with the exception, of course, of not having John Rahm and Scotty Scheffler here, but everyone else pretty much is.
Yeah, I don't mind not having Scheffler and Rahm, considering those guys, it feels like they've won 3/4 of the tournaments this year.
Yeah,
so
right.
it's nice. It's definitely reflected in the odds. Like, guys who have been 30-1 are now 22-1 because there's no Scheffler and Rahm. So we're feeling it a little bit, but it definitely feels like a more open event than we've had in these other elevated events with Rahm and Scheffler.
Yeah, and hopefully it does make it a little easier for us, not only to get a winning pick in here, but also to make a little bit of money, because Rory is the only one in single digits, and that's to be expected, how much he has dominated this particular event. But anyway, yeah, it was funny. I had recorded the golf. I always have the Golf Channel recorded for their pre and post shows. And I was working on Sunday, and the corner of my eye I had to live on. And I was watching, I just put on like the last hole to see what was going on. I was flipping back and forth, and it's close, so I kept it on, and overtime, playoff. I got back to work. I was editing. I swear, it felt like to me, and I know I can get into a zone when I edit, but it felt like to me I was only doing this for 15 minutes, because in the PGA Tour, when they go to a playoff, you got to wait 15 minutes just before they even get to the hole. So I guess this is one of the live things that they want to, make it more fan friendly. So I don't know. They must have just like, all right, guys, let's go. Let's just like run to the tee or something. And I swear it felt like 15 minutes. I turned my back around to see what was going on, and it was over.
Was it just one playoff hole?
I
didn't catch any.
Yes.
Yep.
And so I'm assuming he had a playoff hole, because this is live, anything's possible. But yeah, there was a playoff. It was Gooch and Garcia, but it happened so fast, which again, I think that's a good thing. That's what the Live Tour is about. But anyway, so I didn't know what happened, and I knew I had recorded the golf show, and I figured, you know what, I'm gonna check that out, and I'll just do it that way. I'll get the highlights instead of just going on and seeing who won. And of course, stupid me to think that I'm turning on the Golf Channel and there's no highlights of the Live Tour. Because of course, we can't do that. With the relationship with the PGA Tour and the Live Tour and the Golf Channel, can't have any. Why don't they just call the Golf Channel the PGA Tour Channel?
Yeah. If you watch Golf Channel, it's like the Live Tour doesn't even exist.
I mean, that's just, seriously, call it the PGA Tour Channel, because you're not the Golf Channel. You're not the Golf Channel if you're not showing Live Tour highlights. I don't care if you like it or dislike it. It's golf. And if you could show the LPGA, and you could show anything else that you show on there, like amateurs, college kids, you could show the Live Tour. Anyway, but the funny thing is, as I was flipping to see if I could get to the point, I stopped at one point, and somebody was talking about how, like, Tony Finau was taking a shot at, like, he had a difficult shot in a bunker, and I guess the idea was look at these tough holes that Tony Finau, like the tough part of the round that he had to struggle through to win. Give me a friggin' break, man. I mean, that's a crappy, easy golf course. I don't want to. You don't tell me Tony Finau had a couple of holes where he needed to be tough. I mean, that's just a joke of a golf course. Seriously. I mean, that is just too easy.
It is. My one takeaway, though, was, and we talked about it last week, that the grass, this past pollen grass, And, Akshay Bhatia, who we talked about, and also
Yes.
Brandon Wu, who I think we talked about, who has also had success at that course last year. There's definitely something to that. I think, we don't see that type of grass often, but it does seem like there's certain players that are especially good on that grass type. So that'd be something to, keep in mind for next year, or if there's any events down the road this season that are on Pass Palom.
Yeah. Bhatia was your best pick last week. Finished fourth.
Yeah, he was, quote unquote in the mix. I never felt like he had a chance.
Not.
Just with Rahm and Finau both being up there.
If Rahm and Finau wasn't in it, he could have won.
Yeah. If it was just one of them, I would have thought, okay, maybe. But them both being up there, you just knew one of them would have a good Sunday and not really give Akshay a shot.
So yeah. Anyway, glad all that. Look, I don't know what the schedule is like. I knew they put this together short notice because of trying to compete with the Live Tour and up the events and stuff. But look, you had a whole year. You cannot. I know it's your tradition, but if you're going to have the RBC as an elevated event, it cannot come the week after the Masters. That is just dumb.
Agreed.
Put one of these crappy events. Put the New Orleans event right after the Masters. Because people have it's like the Super Bowl. People can take a week off, and so that's fine. But then after that, maybe you got the RBC and then Mexico. Split it up. You have to do it. If I see the RBC right after the Masters again next year and it's elevated again, and that's just somebody's got to explain that to me, because I don't think the players are happy about that.
Yeah,
I mean, because look at
they're gonna have to figure out this elevated event thing, and like you said, it's the first year doing it, so I think they will. But this time of the year, there's a major once a month. So it's hard to squeeze in these other elevated events. Like, I think at most you can only have one elevated event per month for, April, May, June, July at least.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they change it heading into 2024.
Yeah. So so after the PGA, let's see, what do we have? Because the Byron Nelson should have Scheffler, right? Because he's not playing this week.
I would imagine, and then I don't know about Rahm, who also is not playing this week. I don't know if he's taking 2 weeks off heading into the PGA or what his plan is.
That's not a bad idea, because if you're going to skip the elevated, why would you play Byron Nelson?
Yeah,
he's not from Texas.
So after the PGA, it's Charles Schwab.
That's another kind of Byron Nelson-y kind of event, right?
That's another Texas course. So I don't know if Scheffler's going to play. Scheffler lost in the playoff there last year to Burns. Then it's Memorial, which is elevated. That's a good one. Then RBC Canadian, then the U.S. Open. So
it's not bad. So you have So starting this week, elevated down, major down, elevated down, major down, down. Wow, 3 straight, 4 3 straight or 4 straight. Really, that's a lull right there.
Yeah.
After the U.S. Open, is one of those events an elevated that we're not.
I was going to say, I feel like I saw the John Deere is elevated.
Oh, that would be.
Maybe that's wrong.
That'd be something.
Maybe.
Because Scottish Open is in that 4th week, and they did have a better.
Oh, yeah, Greg, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this.
Tell me.
The Travelers, which is the week after the U.S. Open, is elevated.
Are you kidding me?
That's elevated, and then there's 3 straight non-elevated events.
Why would they do that?
Before the Open.
I mean, they could have picked any of these events. I mean, what's the Travelers? Unless there's something to do with the sponsors, which is always possible.
Right.
But I'm sure that's. I would think, though, that the idea is to switch up some of these elevated events every year.
It is.
Okay.
It is. I know that for a fact. There's some that are locked in. Like, I think the Genesis is locked in. I think API might be locked in as elevated, but I think there's some number of these that are rotating every year. So I would imagine like RBC Heritage and the Travelers, those will not be elevated next year, would be my guess.
Well, then that's okay. In a way, it's okay. I only say that because then you have 2. Then after the back-to-back full field events, or the big events, you have 2 down events, only 2, but at least they're average, not like these last 2. And then you go to Scottish Open, which, again, last year they had like a better crowd because more and more players are realizing if you play Scottish Open, you have a much better chance of competing in the Open Championship.
Yep.
So we'll see a better field there than the Open Championship, then only a couple of weeks before the playoffs begin. So that's not that bad.
That's not talking about playoffs yet. I'm not ready for the golf season to be over.
No, we got to wait before that happens.
By
the time the playoffs
wait.
begin, that's preseason of the NFL.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a ways to go before that starts. All right, so one and done. Now, without Rahm and Scheffler, this makes things also a little bit easier. And I haven't even been giving it much thought. Mm-hmm. Some of the players that I picked for this week, actually, a couple of guys I picked this week, I already have in my one and done, but that's okay. That doesn't mean I have to. I mean, Rory, I've already taken Rory. I know Rory's a heavy favorite and all that, but Rory is not a bad idea, or even Max Homa, because of the fact that, I mean, they've and I say Max Homa because they've both got the multiple wins recently. Well, McIlroy has spread it out, 2010, 2015, 2021, and Homa won it on two different golf courses. So we have to and that's something that everybody has to keep in mind. This is very rare, extremely rare, that you have last year at a different golf course because of the President's Cup, 20 eliminated because of COVID, and 17 was at a different golf course. I forget the reason for that, but that's 17, 20, and 22. That's just like if there's no event. It doesn't. Yeah. That does not have anything to do with what we're talking about today.
Right. Plus, this course underwent major renovations in 2016. So I'm not even sure how much we want to count course history, 2016 and earlier. So I just really looked at 2018, 2019, and 2021 for, as far as like course history goes for this event.
And you said 16 or 18?
16. It underwent.
So 16, 18,
some pretty major renovation. Yep.
19 and 21.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And three. And the interesting thing is the trends are going to be something that you look at, and you really shouldn't. And that's a prime example. Take too much of it into account, because if you look at it, the last 10 first-time winners had an average of 223rd ranking before winning here. And one of those players was Derek Ernst in 2013, who was ranked 1,207. Even if you take him out, the average drops to 114th over the last 9 first-time winners. 417th was one of them, 242nd. So, but again, that was a different time in a way. It's not like, because like you said, now the golf course has changed, and the last 3 winners, last 4 winners, let's just take the last 3 winners, Jason Day, Max Homa, Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, different course, at least a renovated course. Plus, as we said, for these other elevated events, like, this is an elevated event with a much stronger field than we've usually had at Wells Fargo. And, this is one of those weeks, and you'll see it with my betting card, but this is just a long, tough golf course. So it's a type of week where, and factoring in the strength of field, I'd be surprised if you got a super long shot winning this week.
Interesting, though, that you do have 9 major champions have won the 17 events that have been played on this golf course at Quail Hollow. And keep in mind, Max Homa, when he won, was ranked 417th in the world. He was not the Max Homa of today. He was a long shot. He was, who's that guy? And now, of course, we know better for Max Homa. So, so I agree. I just think it's something to just throw in there just because we need to, so everybody understands what's out there. Like, for instance, the last 3 winners, Day, Homa, McIlroy, interestingly enough, all had 3 weeks off before playing here, whatever that means for anybody out there. And by the way, a couple of players that have 3 weeks off that you might want to consider are 2 of those players, Rory McIlroy and Jason Day. They both have not played since the Masters. So,
Man, and Day needed that time off, I think.
Yeah, that was
the way he played over the weekend at Augusta. It looked like he was exhausted.
Yeah, that was very questionable. As questionable as the weekend that Victor Hovland had, which is why I'm a little bit surprised about a pick this week. But
we'll
anyway,
talk about that.
So yeah, as far as one and done, I can understand if you want to use McIlroy, why not? Because keep this in mind too. You might say, yeah, but you know what? He's missed 2 of the last 3 cuts. Aha! When he won this event in 2021, he came into this event missing 2 of his last 3 cuts. And when he won in 2010, his previous 4 events, miscut, 65, 40. So Rory McIlroy has proven he doesn't have to be on top of his game. Matter of fact, interestingly enough, too, if you want to take a look at where winners come from, how about this? Rory McIlroy started in 21. He started 74th after the first round, 8 shots back. So he basically came into the event missing 2 of his 3 cuts, started first round, 74th, 8 shots back, and he still won it. And in 2010, he actually, still to this date, is the winner that has won here the farthest back entering the final round. He did it in 7th place, 4 shots back. And in that same year, in that same event, he was 48th, 9 shots back after the second round. So in 2 of his wins, he's come back from 9 shots back after the second round and 8 shots back after the first round to win. So, and that's very unusual for this particular golf course.
Could be a good live betting opportunity if Rory gets off to a slow start on Thursday.
I like it. Absolutely. So don't bet him early. Just go ahead and wait. I mean, this is the one and done section, but for the betting public, 7-1. Yeah, just wait. Hopefully, has a slow first round. The odds bump to like 15-1 maybe, and then you could take him.
Yeah, for me, for one and done, if I hadn't used Rory yet, I would use him here. Just the course history, it's a big prize pool. And even beyond the course history, like you think about what you need to do with this course, you need to be a long, excellent driver. And Rory is, arguably the best driver in the game. So it just makes sense that this is a good fit for him. But I have used Rory. My pool of players I kind of like this week is pretty small. So I'm just going to stick with these guys for one and done. It's Victor Hovland, Xander Schauffele, Sung J M, Cameron Young. And I bet a couple of those guys. Maybe I'll just use the other 2 for one and done. But my pool of players is pretty tight this week.
Yeah, I was just going to say it, and you answered the question. The same thing I was just going to say. I was going to pick the 2 guys for the one and done, Schauffele and Young.
Yep.
Because Schauffele, I was thinking. I kind of stayed away from the Schauffele was like the tipping point, but I stayed away from those favorites. But I was really seriously. Schauffele is a pretty decent play. He made a major improvement from his first to his second appearance here, and he's in a nice little run. He's doing okay. And Young, now keep this in mind. If you're a little bit worried about his 51st at RBC last time out, how about this? And this year he finished 51st at Players. The very next event, he was runner-up at Match Play. Last year, in an event, he missed the cut. The very next event, finished second. Same thing last year, he missed the cut. The next event, finished third. 21, missed the cut in an event. The very next event, finished second. So Cameron Young, don't worry about when he has a bad week and a bad event. Doesn't matter. Take him if you want to take him. That's why I agree. I think this week's probably not a bad idea. The second place last year, meaningless at TPC Potomac. Yep. So just keep that in mind. We understand that. But, I agree with you. I think Cameron Young and Schauffele are pretty good one-and-done candidates. And I have Schauffele, so I might actually take him.
Yeah, and Young's ball striking numbers off the tee and approach were just fine. At RBC, it was just a bad putting week, pretty bad around the green. And, again, talked about it with Rory. Cam Young might be, I might go Rahm, Rory, Cam Young is the three best drivers on the PGA Tour. So it should be a good course fit for Cam.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean, look, the player that's my top pick this week, I would definitely put into my one and done. I just don't have him, and yeah.
Is that Justin Thomas? But I haven't seen
No.
your picks yet. Okay, I was going to throw out Justin Thomas as maybe a sneakier pick for one and done. I don't know. Maybe he'll be higher owned because of the course history, but he does have excellent course history here, and he's not. The results haven't been great, but like the ball striking numbers have kind of come back for him. It's still not like elite JT level ball striking, but he's been pretty good at Valspar and RBC, surrounding the miscut at the Masters. So I don't think he's too far off. And again, it's a good course for JT.
The only thing that I'm happy about so far, and I'm sure JT is going to do better than his fourth at Phoenix. But the fact that I took Justin Thomas at Phoenix in my one and done, I actually feel pretty good now. Because that's the only top 5 he has this year.
Right.
How crazy is that Justin Thomas has one top 5 this year?
Wouldn't it be crazy if that's the most money he makes in an event? There's no way that's the case.
Something's
right?
He's got to.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I think we're on the same page there as far as the one and dones. We'll talk more about that, including as we go over our picks. And before we do that, though, let's take a look at. We're gonna pop on the stats here, and let's show them here. So Jared stats this week: top 10 in course history, the last 3 events only. So keep that in mind. Not the last 3 years; it's the last 3 events. And then the top 10 on courses over 7,400 yards. Average plus difficult scoring the last 2 years. So you could explain a little bit more in detail of what you were doing there with that second one.
Yeah, again, so Quail Hollow is it's just over 7,500 yards. It's a par 71. So it's a super long golf course. I wanted to look at the guys who have done the best on long golf courses. And I did average or difficult scoring, just tossing out any courses that, played easy as far as scoring goes that were long. So you see some of the names up there, and it's a lot of the names you'd expect in the top 10. I think some of the surprises, Keegan Bradley comes in as the 3rd best player in this field on those long golf courses. Samuel Stevens comes in 5th. It's a small sample for him. He's only played in a few of these, but for whatever reason,
Stevens.
And we can go over some of his stats too. He's long off the tee, and he's good on long approach shots. So I wouldn't bet him to win, but if you're someone who plays like top 20s, I think Samuel Stevens is worth a look. And a lot of other big names in here: Spieth, Sungjae, Corey Connors is another interesting name. Longer shot that comes in 8th on these longer golf courses.
Chris Kirk is 9th.
Chris Kirk is 9th. That's a little surprising because he's not a long hitter, but
actually, and surprising in the top 10 course history, the last 3, you still have Nick Watney in there. Wow. He's 5th. Piercy's 9th. So those are a couple of surprises in there. Damon's 4th.
Yep.
Matt Wallace is third. The top 3 are European players, by the way, and that is another trend. I believe 3 of the last 5 winners were international players. So keep that in mind. Hovland's at the top of the list.
Hovland's at the top. Rory 2nd. Keith Mitchell is a name that stuck out to me at 7. And I thought about betting him, but the more I dug in, he's kind of gone cold after that stretch on the West Coast. So that's unfortunate because he's been really good here, which makes sense because he is a super long hitter.
Look, he's still a guy that I'll throw a buck on at 60-1. Why not? I mean, I'll throw a buck on him because he is good here, and I'm looking at him maybe more of the course than how hot he is. That he might be that type of player this week.
And you know what? By the actual numbers, I think I said Rahm, Rory, and Young were the 3 best drivers on the PGA Tour. By the numbers, over the last 12 months, Keith Mitchell is number 1 in this field in strokes gained off the tee.
That's worth at least a buck.
I think so.
All right, let's scroll the picks. So there are the picks. All right, let's start with. Well, let's see. I tell you what. Again, we mentioned McIlroy. 9 top 20s in 10 appearances at Quail Hollow. 5 top 5s, a runner-up, 3 wins. So that's very impressive. That's the reason he's 7-1. Cantlay is the next guy there at 12-1. And as much as he, even though he's only played here once, I just 12-1. It's just, I understand he's 12-1. Rahm and Scheffler aren't here, but the fact that he's only played this golf course once and he missed the cut, it's just a 12-1. No, I mean, I've got better options.
Yeah, I agree. It's not the best course fit for him.
That's true too.
And I look at his putting numbers. He is by far the best on bent grass greens, which is what we're going to really start to get into here when we get up. I know, Oak Hill is bent grass, Memorial is bent grass. And Cantlay's numbers for really since like the middle of February, they're insane. The off the tee numbers and the approach numbers, like he's hitting it so well. He's gonna win pretty soon. I think he's gonna win on one of these pure bent courses. He's definitely a threat to win the PGA. I think he's a threat to win Memorial, which I believe he has won twice before. That makes sense. I think his win is coming within the next month or so. I don't think this is the best spot for it.
He has multiple wins at Memorial?
He has 2 wins at Memorial, plus a 3rd place. Yeah.
I mean, ask him for a 3rd win. Is there another?
Yeah.
What's next for bent grass other than Memorial?
Well, the PGA Oak Hill is bent.
Asking Patrick Cantlay to win a major though. I don't know about that.
But yeah, again, most of these East Coast Travelers, I'm sure is bent.
There you go. That could do it. All
yeah.
right, we'll keep an eye on that. And then Finau coming off the win at 14-1, asking him to win back-to-back.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really played all that great here. He's been okay, but no top 10s in 5 appearances. So, again, at 14-1, it's a low number, back-to-back, never a top 10 here. I don't see any reason to go that way. But Schauffele's next at 16-1. And if you take a look at it, he played here twice. His first attempt, he was 72nd, 7 over par. Next attempt, 2 years later, 14th at 2 under par. So he's heading in the right direction. And the odds are okay. It's okay.
It's okay. If I had seen a 20 on Xander, I might have bet him.
Yeah.
Because he's second in my model this week. He's one of I'm going to say this about a couple guys heading in this week. He just feels like he's sitting on a win. 19th at the Players, 10th at the Masters, 4th at Heritage. Just doing everything well. There's no weakness to his game, which is kind of what you need at this course. You can't have any holes in your game. So it seems like it should be a good spot for him. But the number was just a little too small for me.
Well, you see, that's the thing. It's like you said, it's like without Scheffler and Rahm here,
yep.
There's a lot of players that are overdue for wins because those guys are. Yes. Matter of fact, let's keep this in mind. In fantasy, Jared has both John Rahm and Scotty Scheffler.
Tough week for me.
Yeah, you have a combined 5 wins this year between those two. So, and a bunch of other top 5s, and you're gonna have to do some homework on those live players, man. Because I can't believe I can't even believe I'm catching up to you so fast because of the live tour.
Gooch.
Yeah, Gooch with back-to-back wins, and Koepka with a win, a second in the PGA in the Masters, and a third yesterday.
I am admittedly slacking on my live homework.
Yep. Yeah, because out of the 5 guys you only have 1 guy that's made you money, Patrick Reed.
Ouch.
That's it. You have Answer, Kokrak, who stays in, and Cam Smith. Now, he played a little bit better yesterday, but boy, I mean, right now, and we'll talk about it next week, but I don't know. It still looks like, well, maybe Gooch again. Because if we're going to pick a player to compete at the PGA, would it be Gooch out of the Live Tour?
You know what? When you were talking earlier on in the show about Gooch winning for the second straight time, right? On
yes.
the Live.
Yes.
I looked up his odds for the PGA Championship. He's still 80-1.
Whoa! Let's put a bet on Gooch.
That's not bad. I mean, I know it's to live, but he's obviously in excellent form right now. So yeah, that might be worth a bet. I would imagine that number gets smaller when we get to the week of,
if not already in an hour or two.
Right.
And even Mickelson's playing better.
Sorry,
Mickelson is playing better.
Yeah. How'd he do?
He was in contention the first 2 days.
Okay.
And then he was like top 5 the first 2 days, and then he kind of just had a nothing. Didn't do anything yesterday, but he's starting to play better. He looked kind of weird. I saw a picture of him, and it looked like he took a weird haircut, and it looked like he didn't have his sunglasses on.
That would be strange.
Yeah, I was like, I had to look at him. To cut the side of it. It looked like he had some weird haircut, like really short. And I didn't see any sunglasses on him. I go, man, he looks weird. So
Phil's gone off the deep end a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So, by the way, I'm less than 200 points away from you. You have 9 wins, and that's just from you also have wins from, who do you have wins from? You have also wins from Burns, Connors, Fitzpatrick, and Homa. And I only have 1.
I think we need to adjust the scoring system next year. I think I should have a bigger lead.
Well, still, there's a lot of points for like second place.
Yeah.
Third place in that. But yeah, maybe first place should get a little bit more points. We'll have to think about that.
Talk about
it. So let's get back to where we were. All right. So Hovland and Spieth are next at 20-1, and this happens to be not only your top pick, but mine. I am sticking with Jordan Spieth. The guy is red hot, and I don't know. You talk about a player that's overdue for a win. Come on. There's nobody more overdue for a win on tour right now than Jordan Spieth. And I don't care that he doesn't have much of a resume here. He at least did make the cut way back in 2013, finishing 32nd. But in his last 5 events, 2nd, 4th, 3rd, 19th, and 4th. So that's pretty awesome. And he's dialed in right now. While Hovland was 3rd here on this golf course in 2021, I just look at him the same way we looked at Day. I don't know what that was. I don't know what happened to him. I mean, I have never seen that in my career. A golfer of that standing entering the day at, what was he, 8 under, I believe, 9 under. And I swear to you, I did not know what his score was. I was not paying attention to the 1 o'clock Golf Channel. I turned on the network feed, and I'm fast forwarding through to try to get to the point. Well, where's Hovland? I'm going to see what he's doing. They're not saying anything. I just want to know how far back he is. What is he, 4 back? And they showed him, and I looked at the number 1, and I was like, it didn't compute. I was like, wait a second. Is that 1 under par? He started the day 8 under, I think. I mean, seriously, have you ever seen anything like that? 7 over par, I think he was for the day. And he didn't play all that much better on Sunday. So that just shows you how crazy the game is when guys like Jason Day and Victor Hovland having excellent seasons can just fall apart in one day.
I'll tell you what happened to Hovland at RBC. He lost 7.2 strokes putting. It was the worst putting performance of his career by 2 full strokes.
So his
previous worst was negative 5.2.
So he must have not just missed birdie putts. He must have been missing easy par putts.
He was missing short ones. Which again, I'm not super concerned about. He had gained putting his 3 previous events. And the ball striking was still fine at Heritage. He gained 2.7 strokes off the tee, gained 3.2 strokes on approach. So that's just one. Yeah, it's golf, it's putting, it's volatile. I'm just going to throw it away. So Quail Hollow, you look at the numbers, what guys that have done well here, kind of how they've done it. Driving is super important here, which I've mentioned. Short game is hardly important at all. That sounds like a perfect course for Victor Hovland to me. He's an excellent driver. His weakness is short game. If that's not going to impact him much here, I think it's a perfect spot for him. He comes in first in my model this week, which is rare. Like I do this every week, and it's usually obviously Rahm and Scheffler, but if it's not them, it's usually Cantlay, Xander. Those guys are up top. This week it's Victor Hovland. I just think this is a perfect course for him.
Yeah, I mean that to me, it's a combination of I don't know what happened this last time he played, and let's remember he hasn't won yet on U.S. soil. So it's like there's still that. And this is a big event. This isn't one of those events that he's won before. So anyway, that's kind of what scared me away. But it makes a lot of sense, too, based on your formula. And
one note on Spieth, just to back up your bet. I pulled up the records from the President's Cup, which was played here, just a few months ago. Spieth went 5-0 in that.
Oh,
so
did he?
He did. He was the only golfer on either side to go 5-0.
I like it. There you go. And he wasn't even playing all that great last year compared to this year.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like it. See, you won't get that kind of stuff anywhere else.
Exactly.
All right. Fitzpatrick, Thomas, Morikawa, Cam Young are all 22-1. We talked about Thomas and Young. So Fitzpatrick winning back-to-back, I think that's asking a little too much. I think, I think he may not be a bad PGA pick, though. Matter of fact, we'll talk about this next week, too. And this is a good week to do it as well. If you already have an idea of who you're going to pick for the PGA Championship, and you have maybe Rory McIlroy's odds are too small, Cantlay's odds are too small, and so forth, and you don't want to put a lot of money on them, but you think, what? I think they might win this week. Just do a parlay. Just do because, and I'm not trying to sit here and tell you it's easy to win two golf events in 3 weeks, but the point is, if you already know who you're thinking of taking anyway in the PGA Championship, then why not just say, you know what? Because even if you just put like $2 on Rory at 7-1 and Fitzpatrick is probably 25-1 at the PGA, that's over $100. So
easily.
Yeah, easily. So you might as well just do that. And get ahead of the game. And in this way, you don't have to put any money on Fitzpatrick. I'm just saying, whoever player you like, you wouldn't have to put any money on that player when you get around to the PGA Championship. You've already got it invested. So.
Yep.
And by the way, one more thing. And I'm only using that as a strategy of a player that, like I said, that maybe it's not your top pick because you don't want to spend a lot of money on it because the odds are too small. But you think you could win. That's the perfect player to do it with because you might as well put something on them and then get something out of it. What were we going to say?
For sure, yeah. I was just going to mention with Fitzpatrick again, as I mentioned last week. My inside source at Oak Hill has mentioned that Fitzpatrick has been there practicing quite a bit and evidently looking good. So, I'd like him a lot for the PGA in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I'll probably do that myself. Put a couple of parlays in action for Fitzpatrick. I don't even know who else I mean, hey, he might wind up being one and done for that one. I'm not sure how many people will take Fitzpatrick in a major.
Not many, I would guess.
No. So, okay. And by the way, Morikawa, he's never played here, and he doesn't have a top 5 in his last 7 events. That's the only decent thing is you're getting 22-1, but I just think there are better options in this area here, and we've just even talked about a few of them.
Yeah, something's a little off with Morikawa. I listened to the First Cut podcast, and Trevor Immelman is on that, and he said multiple times in the past month that Morikawa's not happy with his game. and he's like trying to make changes, not necessarily to his swing, but to like his like support staff, his like coaches or whatever. Like he's not happy with them, and he wants to make changes. So,
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of just off. You know, as much as I love him, he's probably my favorite golfer. I'm just kind of off him right now.
Okay. M. Homa Day, 25-1. Homa, as we mentioned, won here at TPC Potomac last year. Won this event last year at TPC Potomac. Won on this golf course, Quail Hollow, in 2019. And we told you he was 400. By the way, he was 400 and whatever he was in that win. And now what is he? Top 5? What is he? Top 10?
Top 10 for sure. I don't think he's
10.
quite top 5, but top 10. Yeah. Yep.
Also, one of your picks, your second pick is Sungjae Im.
Yep.
And yeah, look, again, another solid player, 6th at Players, 16th at Masters, 7th at RBC. He's dialed in. He's like one really good round away from winning an event or being there. That's the one thing we haven't seen from him, though, all year, is we haven't seen him in contention for a win. He's played here twice. He made the cut once, finishing 31st. What do you particularly like about him this week?
Yeah, Sungjae is another one of those guys I alluded to. It just feels like he's on the cusp of winning. The ball striking, especially off the tee, has been so good lately. Actually, over the last 12 months, he's 4th in this field in strokes gained off the tee, which is a little surprising because he's not the longest hitter. Like, he's only 78th in this field in driving distance, but he's 4th best off the tee. He hits so many fairways. And yeah, his course history here isn't great, but if you go back to that list of the best players on those long, tougher golf courses, Sungjae Im is 7th best on that list. So I do like him on courses like this, and Bermuda is his best putting surface, and these greens are Bermuda. So it seems like a pretty good spot for Sungjae, who, again, I think is another one of these guys who is going to win pretty soon.
All right. Jason Day, we talked a little bit about him. He's played here 5 times. He has 4 top 25s. And by the way, I hadn't realized it because I had always had known how inconsistent it is to handicap and difficult the players, because as we went over it, it's very hard. Very rarely do you have any players that just play well there over the course of their career. I had not realized how tough Wells Fargo Quail Hollow has been as well. I mean, Rory's there, and Day's another, and a couple others. But other than that, you look at these past performances, and they're not very good from most of the players. There's like nothing that stands out, which, by the way, goes to show you that for the majority of, it used to be like when Rory won too, and when these players won, like Jason and Ricky, even though it was a nice, tough golf course, for some reason, it never attracted this type of field before. And I was always surprised about that. I always felt this was a really good golf course that a lot, more talent should. Now, I don't know, maybe the schedule just didn't work out. So, anyway.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a course that hosts majors. So, I'm surprised too.
Day's got 4 top. So he's one of the ones. And I was really close to taking him, but just like I felt with Hovland, it's like I don't know what that was at the Masters, so I'm staying away but 4 top 25s out of 5. He's got to win. He was 9th in 2012, his other top 10, and you are getting 25-1, which is pretty decent. But I don't know what happened to him in the Masters.
Yeah, the Masters performance scares me. I do like that, as you said, he's had 3 weeks off, so fatigue shouldn't be an issue for him at this point. The other reason I didn't bet Day, and I probably won't use him in one and done, is it's weird. He's been good here, but you look at the stats that are important here, like off the tee and long approach shots. He's not actually good in those stats. At least he hasn't been over the last year now. And then even you look at that strokes gain on long golf courses, long tougher golf courses. He's just 52nd in this field. So like he's good at this course, but he's not good at other types of events on similar courses, I guess is the way to say it. So it's kind of a funky thing.
Also, at 30-1, we have Sam Burns, And you can forget about Sam Burns this week. He's played here
Uh-oh.
twice and hasn't looked very good. So, he's
I,
up.
th-
What are you laughing about?
I feel like the weeks we say you can forget about Sam Burns is when Sam Burns wins.
Plays well, yeah. So
and again, these greens are Bermuda, and that Burns on Bermuda is just wicked. So
okay.
I didn't bet him, but yeah, I wouldn't count him out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, he at least he's playing well, but he just he's got the withdraw. I don't know what happened there, of course, but the other event he just didn't play well at all. So, but he's a much different player than the one that played poorly here for year. And that's probably like 5 or 6 years ago, actually. So, yeah. Again, it's not that he can't win. It's just that there's so many better options.
Yeah.
In this area.
Yeah. A President's Cup note on Burns: 0-3-2 in the President's Cup.
There you go.
The worst. Actually, he was bad at the President's Cup, and you know who else was bad at the President's Cup was Scotty Scheffler.
Really?
Who went 0-3-1. So maybe that's why he's not playing.
That's possible.
Maybe he hates this golf course.
There you go. That's because I don't even know if he's ever played here. Probably not.
I don't think he has.
Probably played there for the first time and was like, "Oh, this isn't for me."
Yep.
All right. Especially with all the Texas and the major, this is a week that he definitely probably said, "All right, good. I'll take off." Yeah, he doesn't need the money. All right. Now at 35-1, we have two of my players. One is not Tom Kim. I think it's time to put Tom Kim at 50-1.
I agree.
He has no top fives on the entire season, and he's still 35-1. He's like 35-1 every week. And I'm sorry, but it's time for us to be looking at him having a sophomore jinx kind of season because it's just not happening so far, especially on a long golf course. No way for Tom Kim. So the other two are on my list, and that is Tyrrell Hatton and Ricky. So Hatton is my second choice. He was 42nd in 2018. I think he's going back in the right direction. Wasn't that long ago. He was second at Players, fourth at Bay Hill. So I think, he had that hiccup at match play and then Masters, but I don't think he ever had a very good record at the Masters anyway. No. So I'm okay with it. I think the 19th was RBC, I believe. So I think he's, like I said, I think he's maybe this is an international player, all that. And then Fowler, this is another one of those players that's one of only like 4 or 5 players that has a good track record on this golf course. 6 top 25s out of 9, 4 top 10s, 3 top 5s. The win was in 2012. I believe that was his first PGA win. And he has 8 straight top 35s coming in with 5 top 15s, including a 15th at the RBC. Let's remember, he was 185th last September. He's now 53rd in the world. He still hasn't won. And when you have those kind of consistent numbers, and you get a talented kid like Ricky Fowler, it's just a matter of time before he puts it all together. And on a golf course where he has a lot of good history, I could see this being that type of week.
Yeah, I like it. And I think you're paying for that stuff a little bit at that number, but like you said, he's playing super. I mean, Ricky is 10th best in this field over the last 3 months in strokes gained total. And, this is a stacked field, so he's just playing really well. And like you said, good course for him, evidently.
And this happens to be where my next pick is at the next odds point. Sahith Theegala. I'm going to go back to Theegala, and I think this is a good opportunity to do it. Don't care that he hasn't played here before. He's still relatively new to the game. Hasn't heard him before. Last 4 events, he's improved each time. He went from 74th to 31st to 9th at the Masters to 5th at RBC, so he's trending in the right direction. He has the 6th earlier this year at Genesis in a big, in an elevated event. 4th at Farmers in another elevated event, I believe. They were both elevated, right? Farmers and Genesis?
Yep, correct.
Yeah. So, and RBC was elevated. So he's got
Yep.
3 top 10s in elevated events, the 9th at the first major of the year, and I'm getting 45-1. So again, another player that is maybe overdue for his first win.
Yeah, I like it. So Heath is 11th in strokes gained total over the last 3 months. So just one spot behind Ricky. And he comes in 21st on those long, tougher golf courses, which I think you kind of see. As you said, he's played really well at these elevated events, which do tend to be on tougher courses.
Connors, Fleetwood, and Lowry are next. I'm not really getting a good feel for any of those three between 50 and 50 because Connors, I don't think he's going to win twice this quick after his win, a month ago. Fleetwood seems like he's trending back in the right direction, but he's still not on top of his game. And Shane Lowry sure isn't on top of his game. So,
I can't bet Shane Lowry anymore. It's just bad for my health. He's such a bad putter. He's such a bad putter. I can't do it anymore. He in the fairway, 10 feet to the hole for birdie, miss. In the fairway, 8 feet to the hole for birdie, miss. I just can't do it anymore.
Next up at 60-1, we have two interesting players. I don't like. Well, Keegan Bradley could probably be interesting as well.
Yeah,
because of the fact that if you look at it, again, we don't care about last year because he did finish second on the different golf course, but he was 18th here the year before, and he's 60-1, which is a pretty decent number. But the other two players, Mitchell's one of them, so we've already talked about him. And Mitchell, 3 times he's played here, 34th, then 8th, then 3rd. That's excellent. That's exactly what you want to see. And then Clark, I am definitely going to put a buck at least on Clark. I think this was actually a good week to take Clark because we talked a lot about him last week, and deservedly so. And you go, yeah, well, easy field, and he didn't even finish in the top 20. All right, whatever. Fact is, he's still got 8 straight top 35s, and he did improve from his first trip here to his second. And I think this is good because you see this happen all the time when somebody is like, oh, you got to go with this guy, you got to go with this guy. He's 12-1 this week. We even said it. That was the thing that I did not like about it, even though it took him, was the odds. This is why, I probably should have listened to myself. I don't like doing that because these guys are not used to being considered like one of the top favorites of an event, and they usually don't play all that well. But maybe now this week's the perfect week to take him because a lot of people are probably down on him.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Clark is first in this field in driving distance over the past 12 months. So I think that's important here. So it is a good course for him. Whether he can win in a field like this is the question, but you're getting him at 65-1. I think it's worth a shot. Yeah.
So I think Mitchell and Clark, definitely I'll put a couple of bucks there. I might even put a buck on Brian Harman. I don't know. He's 65-1. Harman has 3 top 25s and 8 tries, 1 top 10. The win he had was at Eagle Point in 2017. So again, different golf course. But he is coming off his first top 10 of the season, of the year, with the 7th at RBC. So the combination of the good vibes with this event and the 7th last week makes it a little bit interesting to maybe keep an eye on him this week.
Yeah. I don't want to talk you off a bet because, like you said, he has played well here.
I'm not that.
And so, the thing I would say is he was actually awesome at Heritage. Strokes getting off the tee, gained 4.5, gained 1.8 on approach. He had just been horrible for like 3 months prior to that. And Harman in this field is 122nd on those longer, tougher golf courses. Which makes sense. He's not a long hitter. So,
yeah. Again, he only has 1 top 10 here and 8 tries. So, yep. Your pick is next, and you must have put a lot of money on him because his odds dropped from 90 to 75-1, and that's your long shot, Gary Woodland, who has 4 top 25s and 9 appearances and a couple of top 5s. You had him last week as your top pick. So why not take him as your long shot a week later?
Yeah, and God, last week he lost 7.4 strokes putting, and he's a bad putter, but that was the third worst putting performance of his entire career.
Sounds like
He
Hovland.
exactly, and those are the type of guys I like to bet because it goes to show you at the Heritage, which was Woodland's previous start, he gained 4 strokes putting. So just the volatility you see, these swings in putting are massive. So if I can get that +4 putting with the approach game he had at the Mexico Open, we're in business with Woodland. I think he fits this course very well. He is 11th in this field in driving distance, and as I think we mentioned last week, those long approach shots, 200 plus yards, he's best in this field, and you're going to see a lot of those again this week. So this is the type of course I want to bet Gary Woodland if he can just stumble into one of those decent putting weeks. That's all we need.
All right. I'll throw a buck on him. Okay. Now, there's 3 long shots we haven't talked about that one is my official long shot. The other 2 were like this close to being my official long shot. So I'm going to put money on all of these, whole 100-to-1 shots. My official long shot is your boy, Cam Davis.
Yes.
So I'm going with Cam Davis in his last 4 events. Well, he had a decent showing enough. He came out of the group at match play.
Mm-hmm.
But he was 6th at Players, 7th at RBC in his last event. First time he played here, he was 4 over, missed the cut. Second time he played here, 26th even par. So he played a lot better the second go around. And I just think, to tell you the truth, at 100-to-1, if the season started in this event, I think he would have been more like 60-to-1. So I think I'm getting a break here at 100-to-1, because if he is finally starting to turn into the player that we thought he could be when the season started, then I think I'm getting a little bit of a break with the odds.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and he might be back because he was so bad for the first 3 months of the season, and I think we mentioned it even at the Players when he came 6th, that was all putting, which is kind of not the way we want to live. But his last 2 stroke play events, not counting the match play, he gained 3.5 strokes off the tee in both of them. And then he gained 4.2 strokes on approach at Heritage last time out. That was his best approach tournament since last July. So yeah, I think you might be right here. I think he might be back to the Cam Davis we thought he was going to be to start the season. And yeah, I think you're right. He would be 60, maybe even like 50-to-1 in this field if it had, if this event had happened 3 months ago.
The other 2 players at 100-to-1 were both my picks last week, and they did not disappoint, and that's why I'm going right back to them. Not on my list. I'm not going to put 8 picks on my list, but I'll throw a buck on them at least, if not more. And Patrick Rogers and Emiliano Grillo, both are 100-to-1. If you take a look at Grillo, he just continues to be heading in the right direction. So 5th straight better performance. Miscut 70th, 53rd. Well, that's not all that great, but last 2, 7th and 5th. So he's and Grillo's a guy when he can get some confidence going. And we said it last week. It's all about up here, the Emiliano Grillo. And so he's got some confidence here, and he's coming to a place where the last 2 times he's played here, 14th and 9th. That's very solid. And then Rogers disappointed me last week because I threw him on one and done. But he still finished 10th, and he had a really good Sunday. And in his last 3 events, 5th, 19th, and 10th. In his first visit here in 2015, he finished 2nd, 14 under par, and he finished in the top 40 his last 2 appearances here. So I just figured with all that, there's no way that I'm not going to throw a couple more bucks on both of them this week.
You got to just for peace of mind, if nothing else, because you don't want to see him win the week after.
Yeah.
Again, I'm obviously have a tight card this week with the 2 guys up top, but just looking at some other like longer shots I might consider. Chris Kirk at 90-to-1, just because he already won this year. He's still playing pretty well. He is surprisingly good on those longer golf courses that we talked about. Kurt Kitayama, any way he wins 2 elevated events in the same year, I doubt it. But he's 100-to-1, and This course isn't super dissimilar from Bay Hill, and that it's just, a long, tough golf course. And then I'll mention Joel Damon at 130 to 1 just because he's been so good here. Again, he was fourth in our course history.
How's he playing, by the way?
Not too great.
No,
that's the issue.
Okay, well then there you go.
Yeah.
But horse for the course, that matters. And
his ball striking's actually been good the last two measured events. The putting's just been abysmal.
Oh geez, dude, he's been doing awful.
Yeah, but so at Valspar, he gained 4.8 strokes on approach. He just lost 5 strokes putting. Heritage missed the cut because he lost 4.3 strokes putting. He actually gained off the tee and on approach. So the ball striking's been okay. He can't make a putt.
Let's see. By the way, I didn't mention this, but Fitzpatrick played on the Potomac Golf Course and was second last year.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind. Let's see. Anybody else? I don't think so, because like I said, it's not like it's unfortunate. Speaking of players that are playing poorly, but you'd wish they weren't, your boy Luke List.
He's a mess.
He's played here 5 times, and he's 16th, 9th, and 6th in 3 of them. That's very good for Luke List. He's 200 to 1 because he's missed 7 of his last 10 cuts.
Yep.
So yeah. Otherwise, he's played well on this golf course, so maybe it'll get him going a little bit.
Yep. You could give Akshay a look again this week if you want a super long shot, 180 to 1.
That's a big number.
It's a big number.
And let's see, Walker's playing here at 400 to 1. He's still playing well.
Ooh.
Jimmy Walker.
Yes. Yep.
So, but yeah, now it's the big boys. So. Let's see. Anybody else? Do you know anything about this Smotherman kid?
Oh, I love Smotherman. I bet him a few times last year. I haven't bet him yet this year, but I know he was in the mix last week.
Yeah, 5th last week. He's 350 to 1 this week.
Yeah, he's long. He's 38th in this field in driving distance, and he's 5th best in this field on approach shots from 200 plus. So
okay,
it's just it's a big ask for him to get his first win.
Oh yeah. Here. That's for sure. All right. So next week, we are going to talk about Byron Nelson and Scheffler probably be in the field.
Yep.
And so at least there's that. But I would imagine that there'll be I wouldn't be surprised if Spieth's in the field either. It's Texas. It's possible.
I would expect Spieth to play. Burns is defending champ, so I'm sure he's going to play.
So it's not going to be a lost cause. There should be some decent players next week. And then we'll begin I think we'll probably begin the show or end it either way. But we'll have a report like we did on the Masters. We'll have an early PGA Championship preview. So we'll take a look at the odds, update them, get you a little jump started on, just like I mentioned before, if you want to do some parlays, things of that nature. Doesn't even have to be golf. Could be anything. So that's on next week's show. And then the week after, we've got the PGA Championship. Again, Jared is going to be there live for the first 2 or 3 days.
I'm going Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, the last 3 days.
Last 3 days.
Okay,
yep.
So you're going to be there. Yeah, I was about to say, why would you miss Sunday? So, so you'll be there. We're planning on doing a show on Friday, and we're also planning on doing it live. So if we can work that out, we will. Same thing with the PGA Championship show. We might do that live too. We'll let you know on next week's show. And then we went over the schedule, so you know what's coming up. So let's do some winning. How about some winning? Would that be nice?
I'm feeling good about this week. I think this is Vic's week.
This is
Vic's week.
Victor Hovland's
week to get his big win.
Okay.
In the continental U.S. or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, right. All right, we'll see about that. All right, so that's going to do it. Jared, appreciate it. By the way, it's not too long before we start talking some football too.
I know, it's coming up.
We're putting together a fantasy football league this season, and we're going to be doing a lot more. Last year we just did, because we just didn't get connected until like a couple of weeks before the season started, and we just threw shows together every week. But we have a lot more planned this time around. Not that it's going to be Jared's got enough stuff on his plate, but we're just going to do some really cool, creative stuff, including putting the fantasy league together. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll start getting into that real soon, including maybe even doing a video in the next maybe even few weeks or something like that to kind of talk about the rookies and the rookie class and how that's going to affect fantasy drafts coming up in a few months. Actually, when's the earliest that they start drafting?
Oh, people have already been drafted.
Oh, don't even tell me that. That's just nuts.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
You can definitely draft now if you're looking to, and yeah, that's what I'm digging into right now. The rookie class. Up on Draft Sharks, we'll have your dynasty rankings up there by tomorrow, actually by Tuesday, and I'm working on updating the 2023 projections right now, so all those will be done by like Wednesday. So if you want to draft, we're ready.
Awesome. All right, Jared, we'll talk to you again on Monday.
All right. See you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.